Hey everyone, welcome to the Leader's Edge. I'm your host, Steve Steele, where we dive into insights and principles that will supercharge your leadership and ignite your personal growth. And whether you're a budding entrepreneur or a leader navigating change or even a seasoned pro, this show is for you. Each episode is packed with practical strategies designed to elevate your mindset and amplify your leadership impact. So get ready for actionable tips that you can put into practice immediately. And a huge shout out to all our amazing listeners. Thank you so much for your unwavering support. Let's get started and unlock your true potential. Our guest today is someone every leader hopes they never need, but will be incredibly grateful to know if they do. She is a strategic advisor for executives facing cancer, a seasoned entrepreneur, and a founder of TryingNotToDie.Live and YourCancerCoach.Live. After her own experience with stage 4 diagnosis and multiple rounds with cancer, she now works with business owners and senior leaders to help her navigate an intersection of health and leadership without losing control of either. Now, with a background in communications and strategy spanning more than 2 decades and training as a certified integrative cancer coach, she brings a unique blend of real-world experience, practical strategy, and yes, just to the right amount of humor to conversations that are often anything but easy. Because when life changes suddenly, leadership doesn't just pause. And Deb helps people figure out how to keep going. Everyone, I want you to welcome from the green room, Deb Krier. Oh, Deb, it's so good. Look at you. Good to see you again.
Yes, thank you, sir. We are going to have such a great discussion. I am so honored to be here.
I know. And this is your second appearance on the Leader's Edge.
I know.
And I'm just so thrilled to have you. It is such a privilege. And when we talked last week, we talked about a lot of different things. And a lot of our guests probably haven't heard a little bit about your story. So let's just kind of dive into your story and what you've been through, Deb. So, we go through this thing and people kind of understand where you're coming from. Yeah.
Well, it's wild and crazy.
Yeah, I know. I know a little bit about your story, and it is wild and it is crazy. Yeah. But the amazing thing that you bring to this whole thing is your energy and your hope and your humor. And people are going to find that out as we go through this. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. You got to have humor. I mean, life is just not worth living if you're not laughing on occasion.
You're so right.
Yeah. So I was initially diagnosed. It's been about 10 and a half years ago. It's actually 10 3/4 years. I don't know. Coming up on the anniversary. Let's put it that way. And, everything was not really that big a deal. I was diagnosed with what they called stage 0 breast cancer, which meant, hey, we're just going to kind of watch it. There's some abnormal things that are going on. So I didn't even get an oncologist. I had a couple of really fun biopsies from a surgeon. And then she said, several months into this, she said, you know what, let's look at some lymph nodes. So we did a bigger test and 8 of 12 lymph nodes were positive for cancer. So immediately I went to stage 3. And that was like, okay, this is fun. And then I got an oncologist. It was like, okay, I guess we're going to have to treat this as serious. She decided that we were going to throw the book at it. This was something that, we really needed to get pretty aggressive with. Had my first chemo, which was 8 different drugs, took 8 hours. Because the first time you get chemo, they do it very slowly to make sure that your body can tolerate it. I discovered that Jimmy John's delivers lunch. Yeah, I did. I had Jimmy John's delivered, right?
In the middle of your therapy?
In the middle of my therapy, he came back into the room with the little bag, kind of looking a little confused. But yeah, I had Jimmy John's delivered because I was just sitting there. I mean, and then the world came crashing down. About 4 days later, I was in the hospital. I went into septic shock. I developed a complication that happened less than 1% of the time. And at that point, I was the only person that ever survived it.
Would that be because of the therapy? Did the therapy kind
Yes.
of stimulate that?
Yeah.
Because you were fine. I mean, you weren't feeling it
I
before the
was
therapy.
a healthy little kid.
Yeah.
And what happened was, the cancer, one of the chemo drugs were, because there were 8, we're not quite sure which one, but it ate a hole through my colon. And
Ooh,
so that ickiness that's in your colon went into
yeah.
my body, right? And so that's why I went into septic shock and needed immediate surgery. And the surgeon, God bless his little heart, said, he said, well, I see no reason to do surgery. She's not going to make it through the day.
What?
And septic shock is fatal about 75% of the time, right? And I remember thinking, excuse me, I get to vote. And the conversation, and he was talking to the oncologist, and my husband said the conversation was a little bit different, but that really was what it was. And my oncologist got in his face and looked at him, and obviously he operated. And then I spent 7 weeks in the hospital, in and out of surgery, in and out of ICU, all sorts of different things. And the septic shock has done far more to my body than anything else. It has, in essence, destroyed my kidneys. And so that's kind of just one of the things that now we get to watch.
Okay, so what mindset at that point, Deb? I mean, come on. What was your mind? I mean, you had
I was pretty out of it, I'll be honest, but still kind of kicking, right? Like, what the heck is going on here? And I was extremely fortunate that my husband, was there, took charge, did everything he needed to do. My mom came out. I am an only child, and so she was not about to not be there. Several other people stepped up that I am indebted to this day. I was never alone, which was really good. I mean, the hospital staff obviously liked it because, they knew there was somebody with me, but yeah, I mean, there was always somebody with me night and day. And so, in amongst all of that, I remember at one point I told my doctor, one of my doctors, now I ended up at one point, I had 10 different doctors that rounded on me twice a day because I had a cardiologist, I had an infectious disease specialist, I had some, I didn't even know what they were doing.
Was this stuff adding up as you were going through your therapy?
Yep. Oh yeah. Well, so I just had that one treatment. It was like, oh no, we don't do that again.
Oh my gosh. And all so this stuff piling on you.
This was all just from that one treatment that then spiraled from there. And at some point in the hospital, I told my doctor, my rib hurts on the bad side. So the side that had cancer. So I got whisked off to do another fun test. And they, so it was a bone marrow test, and those are really fun. And because they're done with a drill. And now obviously there's, there's anesthesia, there's all sorts of stuff, but, and that came back as inconclusive. So it wasn't cancer, but it wasn't not cancer. And so the diagnosis, they decided at that point, was stage 4 metastatic triple positive breast cancer. And on some of my records, it actually does say that I have bone cancer. But yeah, that's I ignore that. And we've never been concerned about it. I mean, it is something we watch. Finally got out of the hospital, and I had decided that I was going to have a double mastectomy. Had that. And got a complication that the surgeon had never seen because I'm special.
You are special, Deb.
I know.
But that's why we love you.
It's funny, some of my doctors are like, oh my God, she's back. Or what now? Right. And so, I mean, it just, and the amazing, so I had decided to have radiation. So I was going to do the standard traditional approach to cancer. Now, long ago, when I was a wee young girl, I worked for an oncologist and I worked for the American Cancer Society. So I know just enough to be dangerous. But I had decided that my best choice was traditional. So chemo, surgery, radiation. I sailed through the radiation. They were really dumbfounded at that because, this redheaded freckly kid, I had no side effects, no burning, no anything that often comes with radiation. And now most of the time I kept working. It gave me something to think about. And hospitals and doctors' offices all have very good Wi-Fi. And so I just kept working. A lot of people never even knew what was going on. But
so you're in your hospital bed on your computer just while working away.
I am. Yeah. I ended up with sepsis again, and, and it wasn't nearly as serious, but I did need IV drugs for 7 days. And so, plunked me back in the hospital, and I was perfectly fine, aside from the fact that I had this big IV pole attached to me. And so they put me on the orthopedic floor. That was just where they had space. And the orthopedic nurses thought I was the greatest thing in the world because I needed nothing from them. I was mobile, all that stuff. But got over that, and everything. And then, went merrily along. Several years later, I was in my primary care doctor's office, and she said, "So anything else going on?" And I said, "Well, I got this sore on my arm that won't heal." She sighed, and I was in the dermatologist office the next day. Now, I'd never been to a dermatologist. I always watched for things like that because I am the redheaded freckly kid. And he looked at it and he said, "This doesn't look good." He did a biopsy and it came back as basal cell carcinoma. Which sounds horrible, right? It's your basic garden variety skin cancer. He burned it off, didn't even take a stitch. But now I get to go see him every 6 months. So adding to this, I play Dr. Bingo, right? At some point I'm going to get a blackout card. And then it's been 3 years ago. They ran just one of the standard tests to check on the status of the breast cancer. That came back as absolutely nothing was going on. But they said there is something else. And I had a lesion on my thyroid. Actually turned out I had 2 tumors. I had one on either side of my thyroid gland. And so they removed the entire thyroid, but we caught it so early that I didn't have to have any type of treatment. But I've had 3 totally separate types of cancer. It's just like, really? Now what?
My gosh. It's crazy to me how a person can go through so much and still have the energy, and because so many people, when people do have cancer, and they do, this is my experience, the people who have cancer, they struggle with the mindset of trying to, what's going to happen next, what I get, the fear of it all. Deb, how do you keep your positivity so strong? I mean, that's got to be a gift of something. I mean, there's got to be something there.
I don't know. Maybe I'm insane. But I'll be honest. There are times where I am not a happy camper. Whether it's fatigue. I actually had treatment this morning. So I have been having treatment every 21 days for 10 and a half years. And so, but I know what I need to do. I need to come home. I need to rest. I need to hydrate, right? Wash all that gooky stuff through your body. But you graced us with having a prayer before we started, and you said one of the magic words, and that's grace. We have to give ourselves the grace to feel bad and to acknowledge that and know that, some days are really going to be bad. Some days we're going to be angry. Some days, we're going to not want to get out of bed, but it's okay. Feel those emotions, acknowledge them, and then say, okay, now what do we need to do to move on? Wow.
And that is, I know that sounds easy.
It's not.
It's not easy. And you have to, I guess, position yourself in your mind to say, I'm going to make this choice. This is how I'm going to feel, how I'm going to move forward. Because I know even in situations in my own life, when I'm dealing with specific things that are not even related to health, but there's different things that come up. This has happened or this has happened. It is sometimes hard to stay in a mindset of really a powerful state of mind, because if you're in a primal state of mind, which is that stress and overwhelm and anxiety and all of that, shifting to a powerful state of calm, peace, energy, happiness, joy, people don't know how to do that. It's hard to make that shift. How do you, and you just said that it's like, it's a choice, and I understand that it's a choice, But Deb, what would you give to people that?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. The first we kind of alluded to already, laugh, right?
Laugh.
You know, and there are actually medical reasons why laughter is good for you. The Mayo Clinic even agrees, you know, all those various things. It raises your level of serotonin, it decreases your blood pressure, all sorts of things. Even if you're faking a laugh, your brain doesn't know. And
That's right.
you know, and
right.
So you do that, which I mean, like, you know, I go bebopping into the infusion room. How are you? You know, and people look at me like, whoa. But you know, you have to laugh at all this. You have to really just laugh at everything that's going on. I mean, I have gone under anesthesia, under general anesthesia 34 times in 10 years. And then you just toss in all the other stuff. I mean, you know, that does kind of scrabble your little brain a bit.
I would think.
But the other thing is your community. You know, I do say that I am a warrior. I know not everybody likes that term, but I am a warrior. I'm fighting for my life.
Absolutely.
But no warrior stands alone. We all have our tribe. We have our community. And I remember one of the times when I went in for surgery, I literally laid there, you know, all ready for, you know, the surgeon. And I thought, well, I can't die. All of those people will be mad. You know?
Yeah.
But more importantly, when I'm going through, you know, and I know that I always have, you know, prayers from people, good wishes, all sorts of things. But when I specifically say, hey, you know, something's going on, I feel that. I feel that bubble of support. And it's just incredible to have that sensation.
And that's a whole different vibration. That's a whole different energy level. You know, just saying it and knowing it and just, you know, okay, but feeling it is really a whole different vibration. It's it's one of true belief, you know. The people are there for you, the people love you, the people care about you.
Right. And some are my angels. You know, I've got some angels. Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Talk to us about that. What does that mean to you?
So I actually, I don't know if you can see it. So I have a great tattoo and it says warrior. And then it has tattoos around the word warrior that stand for people that I've lost. And you know, and like my mom's there, my dad's there, my mother-in-law, friends. I've got paw prints for my furry animals, you know, things like that. But it's here on the inside of my arm because I can touch it and I can feel it when I am in, you know, the doctor's office, surgery, wherever. And the weird thing is sometimes it's warmer than the rest of my skin. And I just know that those angels are there saying, okay, we got you. Whatever's going to happen, we're here with you.
I believe in that wholeheartedly, 100%. I feel like the angels, that my angels are around me. The people who support me are around me all the time, especially in some of the things I'm going through. And even the people that are my friends, that are here in the physical realm with me, the belief that they have and the strength I lean on for them at times is such an amazing thing. And I imagine you had to have that kind of support going through what you've gone through. Has had those special people. We got about a minute here, Deb, till we have to take a commercial break. But I want to just kind of ask you, maybe thinking about this, but can you tell me of a couple, maybe one or two people in your life that have been those rock people that you had to turn to when you couldn't tell anybody else anything? And you had to really turn to them and say, hey, you know, I'm struggling here. I need to talk to you. We're going to take a quick break, Deb. And as soon as we come back,
I'll think on that.
You think on that and take that. So we'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back to the Leader's Edge. Are you ready to elevate your organization with a team of transformational leaders? Do you want to attract and nurture top talent while enhancing communication and productivity across generations? Hi, I'm Steve Steele, co-host of The Leader's Edge, and your coach with the Maxwell Leadership Team. My program equips leaders with essential skills and resources to lead, coach, and communicate effectively, ensuring everyone thrives. With tailored insights and proven strategies, I'm here to help your entire organization succeed. So reach out today at growthinleadership@gmail.com or visit johncmaxwellgroup.com/Steve Steele. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Leader's Edge. I'm your host, Steve Steele, and our special guest today is Deb Krier. Deb, a minute ago, we were talking before we went to the break, we were talking about all the different things that you've been going through, all the 3 different cancers that you've had, and we were talking about how you keep your mindset up and how you move forward. But I asked you a question before we left for break, and I asked you the question, can you name 1 or 2 people that have been those people you physically can touch, physically can see, that when there's nobody else to turn to and you need the biggest pickup in your life? Can you tell me who those are?
Well, I mean, the main one would be my husband. You know, I don't think I could have gotten through this without him and without his steady support. You know, I have lost my mom. She died a couple of years ago, but she was very much, you know, a big part of that. Now, I couldn't tell her if things were not going good because she was one of those, we have to soldier through, you know, all of those various things. But she, her sister, my aunt, is a retired nurse practitioner. So she spoke that language, right? And so I can ask her the questions. Hey, what about this? And, you know, and I also, you know, really many of my medical team have become a big part of my support system. But my friends, I mean, you know, I have some friends who, you know, were absolutely incredible with what they did to help me get through it. And they still do.
Absolutely. When you were going through the process of trying to figure out, you know, all the different, I guess, the therapies that you were going to have to do and everything, at some point, you have to be an advocate for yourself. Was there ever a time there? Because there's people out there that maybe have gone through things that you're going through, and they're like, "Who's telling me the truth?" You know, I mean, I don't know what this to believe, or this to believe, but at some level, you've got to be an advocate for yourself, right?
Right. You have to be the advocate for yourself. You know, and we can't have that white coat syndrome. You know, we love our doctors, we love our care team. You know, but a lot of times we defer to them because they have the million years of experience, right? No. Now I am going to say, folks, no Dr. Google. I've only actually looked twice at something that's going on, and it was simply terms that I did not understand.
Right.
And now, you know, AI, be very, very careful with that. You know, I had someone who said, I'm so upset about all of this. I've asked AI to just tell me what I should do. You know, of course, the problem we know with AI is it's getting the good, the bad, the ugly. It doesn't know how to differentiate. Now, you can say, here's what I've got. Tell me the side effects of this drug.
Right.
Tell me the questions to ask my doctor. Things like that. But, you know, always know that it's still you, you know, and you might say, I'm not going to do that traditional stuff, you know, or I'm going to do a combination, and it's got to be your decision, because you know, whether you get better or not, it's your brain that is controlling an awful big part of it.
Wow. And I think that's so true. I love what you said. You have to be the advocate for yourself. You can't just let everybody else make the decisions for you. You have to be that advocate. I think most people will agree to that. It's just knowing what is the right thing.
Right.
You know, just knowing what is the right thing to do.
Well, and when you're told you have cancer, your brain goes, bleh.
Oh, I can imagine.
Right? I mean, you know, when we go to the doctor, when we've got the flu, we come home and we go, when was I supposed to take that medicine? You know, and when you're told, you know, hey, you've got this and this and this and this and this, and they give you all these printouts, right? Here, you can study up on this. And it's like, I'm sorry, every one of these words has more than 25 letters in it. You know? And, you know, and so, you know, just know that, you know, you might need to research things a little bit better. I know there are so many people who their faith is what is something, you know, and there's obviously different levels of faith, different types of faith, you know, faith as in a religion, right? But there's also faith in myself, faith in my care team, all of those various things too. And so they all just kind of tie together.
Absolutely. Now, when I read a little bit about your bio today, when I was introducing you, you made a statement I just absolutely love, and I want you to kind of explain this statement. And I read in your bio, it said that you're someone every leader hopes to never need, but will incredibly be grateful to know if they do.
Right.
What does that mean, Deb?
It's something that I was kind of arm twisted into doing by my business coach.
Really?
Yep. One of the things that she kept telling me, and she knows my story. She knows all the ins, the outs, the uglies.
Yep.
And she kept saying, you didn't go through everything you went through without using it to help others.
Right.
And I said, yeah, but I don't want to be cancer girl. But she kept kind of pushing and saying, you need to do this. So I finally took the step. You mentioned I am a certified integrative cancer coach. That is through the Cancer Wellness Institute. It was a 12-week, very intensive program.
Really?
So not just hey, here's $30. I'm going to, do something on the computer. No, this was a very detailed program. And I have some other certifications. I'm a grief counselor. But I'm a happiness counselor.
I can believe that.
Right. And then, obviously some business things. And so what I have started doing is helping business owners and executives who, when they are told you've got cancer, the first thing they say is, I don't have time for this, which is what I told my doctors.
Sure.
And more importantly, I can't tell anyone because they're going to think I can't do my job.
Okay. Now I want to zoom in on it for a second, because I think that's very important. When you are faced with that kind of situation, you have this automatic, I don't know what you call it. It's like a thought or whatever you want to call it. It says, I'm not good enough now, and I'm different. And so everybody's going to treat me different. And I don't want to be treated different. I want to be treated the same. Right?
Right.
So how do you, how do you move forward to that?
I mean, the hardest thing is to figure out what and who to tell.
That's true, I guess.
Right. And I'm obviously very open with everything, but I do that deliberately. But yeah, it's, we do think we can't do our job. And when I first knew that I was going to really have, some major challenges, I thought, how do I tell my clients? Do I tell my clients?
Yeah.
I have my own marketing firm. And I knew there was going to be, there could be several outcomes, and, not the least of which would be, they would say, you can't do your job, we'll get somebody else. Or they could say, we want you to focus on you, so we're going to get somebody else. Or, and this is what my clients did, which is why I work with them. What can we do to help you? And it really was, one of those things. And I was very lucky that my clients all said, what can we do? But it's something that you really have to think through, and it's not just, how am I going to run my company, my department, whatever, but a big part of that is that's our identity, right?
Yeah.
And so we're losing control of that. We're losing control of our lives in a lot of ways. And we just don't like that. And so that's why a lot of people don't share with people they're working with, because they can still have control there. They still are in charge. They're still the leader. They're still whatever it is. And so they just don't tell. Plus, we don't want people looking at us going, oh, right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, most of the time we don't tell people the things that we don't tell them is because it's not about so much them accepting us, but it's really about us hiding behind it.
Right.
And so if you are an individual who has cancer, what is your best I guess advice that you would give an individual? Do you tell her just be open? Do you tell the person, well, just tell the people you want to tell? What would you say would be the best advice?
Everybody really is going to handle it differently. But one of the things that I remind people, and my background is in corporate communications, and I remind them, you are going to physically and mentally and all sorts of things be going through challenges, right?
Yep.
And if you don't tell people at least something, we don't like a vacuum. And so they're going to start making it up.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
do you want to control that narrative, or do you want them to say, oh, she's coming in
That's a
late
good
every
point.
day. Maybe she's been drinking a bit, or whatever it is. And, and like I said, you can be very open. You can tell them all sorts of things, or you can say, I'm going through something with my health.
Yeah.
I'll keep you posted with as much information as you need, but I really need your support. And if you've got good people around you, they will say, what can we do to help you?
I love that. And I think you're absolutely right. You control the narrative.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is how you get through that. You
Right.
control the narrative. You let people know what you want them, exactly you want them to know, and you
Mm-hmm.
control the narrative. And I love the fact that people will walk up and say, how can I support you? Because that's what, I mean, if I'm in that situation,
Right.
even in situations you're not with your health, other
Mm-hmm.
situations,
Mm-hmm.
I love hearing people say, how can I support you?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And sometimes it's just me being able to vent
Mm-hmm.
or me be able to talk it out.
Right.
And get rid of that, all that
Mm-hmm.
energy, because sometimes when you have all that little primal energy in you, and you talking to someone allows you to release it, right? And then start allowing versus, which is resisting, right? Because when you resist, that
it just builds.
It just builds. You resist. So just start allowing the universe, or you're allowing God to do his amazing work in you, regardless if you're sick or if you're healthy or whatever your situation is. It is allowing God to do that, surrendering that, to let them just say, I'm going to allow it, God. I'm here. I'm going to allow it. And have the people that love you and support you behind you. That's amazing.
Right.
That is amazing. Right. I mean, I don't know any other way to get through it. I mean,
right. And you have good people around you who are smart and talented. And if they work for you or with you, empower them. They're smart. That. They can do it. There's a word that's really hard for all of us, right? And it's called delegate.
Oh yeah.
and of course the big thing is we think, well, we'll delegate this, but what if they decide they really didn't need me? Well, okay, then you get to do something else. But yeah, we've got really good, smart people around us. Have them help us. And the thing is, though, be specific. Nobody reads minds. And from both ways. I can't expect someone to help me if I haven't asked, specifically said, here is what I need. Because if they don't, then we get our feelings hurt, right? But if you are also on the other side, be specific. Don't just say, hey, Steve, just tell me if there's anything you need. Because your brain, like we said, shorted out and you can't think of anything. And so if, say, you're a friend, you're going to say, can I bring you dinner on Friday? Can I take your dog for a walk? Can I take you for a walk? I needed people to walk me. I literally needed people to take me for walks. And so be specific, because I can easily say no, but I could also say, oh, hey, Friday for dinner doesn't work. What about Sunday lunch? Or, something like that. And so be specific when you are either asking for help or wanting to provide help.
I love that, because sometimes we don't want to ask.
Right.
Right. We don't want to ask.
Sometimes
we
don't want to be a bother.
We don't want, we don't want to bother them. We don't want to feel like we're intruding upon them or their situation. But the fact that the truth is, they really, I would really, really want that. Maybe I can't do it at that specific time, and maybe I can't, but maybe I can another day later or something like that. I would really, really want that.
Yeah. And in the workplace, say, can I help you with that report? Can I do, can I talk to that client? Can I do whatever it is? It really is, again, we just have to be specific.
I love it. Deb, I thought that this particular website was very unique. TryingNotToDie.Live. Tell us what that's all about. Tell us what that's all about.
Right. Well, it was part of this process of my business coach saying, hey, you need to do this. But the trying not to die part came from my mother. When she was out, and she stayed for 4.5 months.
Really?
that's a little long.
Uh-huh.
When she started rearranging my kitchen, it was like,
Oh.
no, you get to go home. But like I said, there was somebody with me all the time. And so that was great. And I truly appreciated the fact that she was here. But one of the times when some, medical person came and went, I got the disapproving mother face. We all know what that is, right? And I went, what? And she said, you did not say thank you. And I said, oh, for God's sakes, Mom, I'm trying to not die here. And, one of the things that we think about is the fact that as we are going through things, whether it's something catastrophic like this, or just, hey, what's going on in our lives, we get so caught up in trying to not die that we forget that we have to live.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And maybe it's 5 hours, maybe it's 5 days. I mean, whatever it is. And so, it actually is an acronym, and, and so live, which is why live, when we do it, is in all caps. And it's funny, it's not bringing it up on my computer, and heaven forbid, I don't remember what it is. But it is, how are we going to live our lives? And really, whether you've got an illness or not, how are you going to live your life? Are you just living to, get through everything, or are you living to truly live?
I absolutely love that, because trying not to die. I mean, I would imagine that people that have been what you've been through are in those moments of thinking, and like you said, told your mom, I'm just trying to live here. I'm trying not to die. And that's constant. I mean, it's got to be a constant thought on your mind every single day, day after day, moment after moment. But you've got to live. Right. You've got to flip that switch in your mind somehow.
Right. And I said, my diagnosis is stage 4. Stage 4 is not considered curable. Now, I have hit the magic 10-year mark, which is, one of those things. And we love that. We had, a little party and all that. I bet you did. But, it is always there. And you're always thinking, and I know one of the things that people talk about a lot is what we call scan-anxiety. Right? You have a test, and until you get the results back, your brain takes you to the worst possible place. Man. And so, you're always thinking what ifs. And that's natural. I mean, if I just don't feel good one day or feel different, it's like, why? What's going on? Why is this? I mentioned that I was at my doctor this morning, and I told him, I said, I need you to test my B12 again. And because I'm feeling real draggy, and they've put me on B12 injections. I got to give myself shots. But it's like, I don't know why I'm feeling draggy. Let's figure this out. But there's always that there. And even if you are done with treatment, and somebody posted on Facebook the other day, I don't have to go back for 5 years. Right? Isn't that just fabulous?
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
It doesn't mean it's not in their head.
Right. That's right.
And so that is hard to deal with. And it's really hard to deal with if you're, a business owner. It's, I told somebody, I said, it's a challenge to do long-term planning. Right? Am I going to be here 5 years from now, 10 years from now?
That's something I never would have thought of.
Right. But you know what? I could also get hit by a bus tomorrow. Well,
there is no tomorrow, right? Yeah, there is no tomorrow. All we have is today, right? It is today. That's beautiful.
Now, you do plan for the future.
Sure.
And, because, how are you going to get there if you don't? But so it's kind of a balancing act.
Absolutely. Well, Deb, we're going to take another quick break. And right after we get back, I want to talk a little bit about your coaching and what you do there. Okay. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll return right back to the Leader's Edge. Are you ready to elevate your organization with a team of transformational leaders? Do you want to attract and nurture top talent while enhancing communication and productivity across generations? Hi, I'm Steve Steele, co-host of The Leader's Edge, and your coach with the Maxwell Leadership Team. My program equips leaders with essential skills and resources to lead, coach, and communicate effectively, ensuring everyone thrives. With tailored insights and proven strategies, I'm here to help your entire organization succeed. So reach out today at growthinleadership@gmail.com or visit johncmaxwellgroup.com/Steve Steele. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Leader's Edge. I'm Steve Steele, your host, with our special guest today, Deb Krier. She's back. Deb, thank you so much for that. That's a wonderful conversation, and I loved what you were talking about. Especially, we were talking about trying not to die. Live. That was very interesting to me, how you really put all that together, and how we talked about the different the way people think about their situation and being an advocate for themselves. All those different things, right? So, but Deb, you're a coach. You have a website that is, I think it's called Cancer Coach.
So YourCancerCoach.Live.
Yeah.
We like the live motif, right?
I like the live part too. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And I remember when websites were first around and you had to be .com, .org, .whatever.
Yeah.
Now you can be pretty much .whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's YourCancerCoach.Live.
Tell me a little bit about that. Who do you coach, and what does that coaching look like?
So thank you so much. Again, it's for senior executives or business owners, because they really don't have people they can share with, and now some do, and that's great for them. But in many cases, they're thinking, I can't tell anyone. And, so what I do is I'm not the, gee, I'm so sorry for you. See, I get real Southern every once in a while. I'm like, okay, is your business going to survive? How is your business going to survive? Do you want your business to survive? There are some that are going to say, nope, my priorities have changed. I don't want to do this anymore. But, it is thinking through the things that we should be thinking about as business owners and leaders anyway. Do you have a business continuity plan? Who signs your checks? Who has your mortgage? All of those things that in a lot of cases, especially for, say, a solopreneur, it's in our heads and nobody else knows it.
Right.
They don't even know the password to the computer, let alone other things like that. And so the program is structured to be 90 days, because that's kind of the typical type of initial diagnosis and, whatever, until things are, the ship is kind of righting itself again. But, what are you going to think about during that time? I mentioned the words delegate, empower. Who are you telling and how? You are going to have different communications for different audiences, right? Your immediate team around you, you probably need to give them quite a bit of information. And then it kind of trickles out from there. You might not tell your clients, it all depends on things. Now, if you have physical changes, like you've had chemo, so you've lost your hair, things like that, they're going to figure it out. But yeah, what levels of communication are you going to provide? And then, really think about those things that we get caught up in and ignore as that leader, because we don't have time for it. What's our sleep patterns? What's our exercise patterns? All of those things that we just really don't think about. And, how is your business going to survive that? And how's your leadership going to survive? Because it is going to change. You are going to have a different perspective when you come out of this.
Oh, I can imagine.
And so how are you going to structure that to be what you want it to be?
And I was going to ask you, when you're coaching, is it really all about the business, about, what they're going to do? Or is there those moments when at the beginning of this coaching, you just got to coach them through the moment because of how they're feeling, right? I mean, it is so difficult.
I mentioned grief and anger.
Tell me about that. Yeah. Tell me about
grief,
that.
Anger, and denial are the biggies. I literally looked at my doctor when we knew that it was going to be a much more serious diagnosis. And I told her, I'm sorry, I don't have time for this. And she didn't quite understand my sense of humor. And she just looked at me like, but yeah, we're angry, and we are going to grieve because our lives have changed. No matter what, even if it is, a fairly easy to treat diagnosis, all of those various things, your life still changes. And so you're going to grieve what you have lost. And, some of it too is thinking about what is important to you. I tell people, don't have a bucket list anymore. Just do.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And so, I tell people, I don't want my headstone to say, I wish I would have.
Yeah.
And so that could be that you are going to back yourself out of your business, and, more people are going to do, or maybe you're going to go in a different direction. Oh, I always wanted to do that. Those type of things, and really be thinking about what is, if you've got 5 hours or 50 years, how are you going to live that? And really sit down and think hard about that, because when we're running a business, we're so caught up in running the business, we don't stop and think about those things.
That's beautiful, because you're absolutely right. Our identity changes at that moment. We're not just a business leader. Also, we're now a business leader who has a different perspective on life.
Right.
And it's a huge shift, huge shift. Do you often do your clients make those shifts quickly, or does it take time, or is it different for everybody?
It is different for everybody. I think it does take a little bit of time. I mean, even if you weren't feeling well and that little voice in your head was saying, hey, there's something going on, we still were ignoring it. And so we're very reluctant to recognize what's going on. And then I mentioned, earlier, that loss of control is, and
that's got to be huge.
Yeah. And especially as a business owner, I mean, you are used to being loud, proud, and in charge, right?
Yeah.
And when that's not there, what are you going to do?
I mean, I want to think about that for a second, because that's different. That's a whole different thing. I mean, it changes the game.
Right.
The game of life changes at that point, right? And you don't know. You oftentimes, I had this planned, or I thought I was going to be doing this, but now, am I ever going to get to do that? Am I ever going to get to be who I want to be? Or I've got to be this particular person who has cancer, or I got to be this person who's in remission, or that changes, and that identity shifts. And I have to say that in an illness, and it doesn't matter if it's cancer, what it is, even in other things, identities shift quite a bit. But they have to, right, Deb?
Right.
They have to shift. You can't be the same person. You can't solve a problem with the same mind you had the problem with. If that makes sense. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
It does. And you find that your priorities do change. Sometimes drastically, sometimes a little bit. You also find, anyhow, I did, that who and what I surround myself with changed.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Those toxic people.
You don't got time.
Yeah. Now there might be some that you have to, still have to have in your life, but can you get rid of them? Or at least minimize the amount of time that you are with them. It was funny. I was talking with my nurse today as she was drawing blood, and we were talking about what's going on in the world. There's a lot going on in the world.
Yes, there is.
And we both said we don't watch the news. I know what's going on.
I do too.
Now, last night, my little heart was so happy because I watched Artemis 2.
I did too. Yes. I saw that on the TV. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Right. But there was that tiny little bit in there, like, please don't blow up. Please don't blow up. Right.
No, yeah.
Because we're of that generation where, unfortunately, we saw those. But yeah, I mean, to me, this is getting very philosophical and very woo-woo. That is such a symbol of going and doing the most that you can do, right? I mean, those astronauts, if everything goes the way that it's supposed to, will be doing something that no human has ever done. So scale it back to your life and think, okay, what can I do? And some of it might be, I'm happy with where I am. That's okay. You don't have to uproot everything, but think about, maybe I'm gonna be a better person. Maybe I'm gonna volunteer more. Whatever it is, just be thinking about those things. Uh-oh. Steve is frozen. I don't know if I'm frozen. Am I? Uh-oh, we've lost Steve. Hello, I'm here all by myself on this live.